What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 46 of To The Show We Go. We got Chris Henrique and myself, Andrew Parker. We've had a few episodes this week. If you haven't checked those out, we had Red Sox reliever John Schreiber on in the previous episode. We had Blake Wehunt on. We've had new Woo Sox Jamie Westbrook, Woo Sox manager Chad Tracy. I feel like we've had a ton just in the past week. So if you've not gotten the chance, please go check those out. We're dipping back into the Red Sox 2023 draft class today. We got another pitcher. So we had Wehunt on this week as well. We have CJ Weins from the draft class, 6th-round pick this time around. So CJ, before we get into some baseball things and other than that, I just want to see how's the offseason treating you?
Good. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more downtime than I anticipated, but I mean it's going good. I got a facility up here close to the hometown that I found it. Actually, this is my first time going here since I don't even know when, but it's going well. Everything's going well. Training's going good.
So before I get into some baseball things, I need to ask you. So you went to 3 different colleges.
Correct.
So you've kind of been all over the place in terms of schools, but I see you're wearing a WKU hoodie. So obviously you're repping WKU. Do you feel like are you still true though to South Carolina and even Wabash Valley, which I'm familiar with because I grew up in the Illinois side of St. Louis, so I'm a little familiar with that area. But do you still rep those other 2 schools as well?
Yeah, I'll rep them. Actually, you can't see them, but I got on Carolina shorts right now. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I was a Gamecock fan growing up, so I mean, it's definitely still one of the teams I follow. And then with Western being there this past year, I'm still repping all their stuff. And then even this hat, Wabash Valley hat.
Okay, I figured as much. Then I will chirp you on the going to the wrong Columbia. The Mayor's Cup belongs in Columbia, Missouri, for with the Mizzou Tigers. That is the better Columbia. So it's okay. We've had you guys the past few years, and I'm going to hang my hat on that one. But is there any? I'm sure you're a big Bailey Zappi guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
So
actually
how do you?
it sucks though because like I wasn't at Western when he was there. Like I was the year before I got there, so I didn't really get to see him. But he would come around the facility every now and then, and I'd get a chance to talk to him. He's a really good dude.
Okay, so you're pretty excited now that he's the starting quarterback in New
Yeah,
England. You're actually tuning into some Patriots games right now.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, love that. All right. So baseball stuff. Sorry, I was getting a little. I had to ask because I saw you were at 3 different spots, and I saw you wearing the WKU, but I figured you still were true to your previous schools. But you were drafted this past year. Can you just walk us through, I guess, what your experience was like being selected by the Red Sox?
Yeah, I feel like my experience is probably a lot different than probably what anybody in our draft class went through. Just because with me being a 5th-year senior, there's a lot of ambiguity that comes with that. Just with like there's not a whole lot of leverage to play with, so it kind of that's just like the nature of the beast when it comes to the draft. So I really had no anticipation of where I was going to go. I had a good amount of offers or interest just throughout the season because I had a really good year. But at the end of the day, I had no idea where I was going. I probably interviewed with, I don't know, 10, 15 different teams. And it was all just kind of a who could get me. But that was the thing is I really didn't know where I was going.
And so the 6th round is obviously it's a great round to be selected in. So it's like, did that surprise you at all to be that soon?
Yeah, I knew there was rumors going around that I was going to be the first senior picked off the board, and I just didn't. But that's the thing is like you don't know if you're going to go early enough, if the team's going to lower their slot value that much to get you, or if you're going to have to wait till the 20th round. Like so, it was just a lot of unknown that day.
Yeah, I feel like as as you kind of understand the draft a little more, and I guess when I was a little younger, I didn't fully get being like, okay, why do they have to pick the guys that do because of the slot values and all that stuff? And it is interesting to see teams kind of balance that out. Obviously, if they pick a ton of high school guys with their first 3 picks, it's like they got to balance it out with a bunch of like college seniors and stuff that in the first 10 rounds. So it is interesting, I guess, to hear that you were one of the first ones taken off the board in your, I guess, subclass, I guess, of being a 5th-year senior. So what was it like, I guess? So like, where were you out like anywhere special, or did you just have a bunch of family around? Like, what was the draft day like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was just me, my mom, my dad, and my fiance just sitting in the living room watching the TV. And
Okay.
yeah, and then it was just me bouncing back and forth with my advisor and different teams. And that was the thing, is like every team that gave me a call, like they didn't give me a definitive, like, hey, we're going to take you here. We're just going to, like, if we got the money open here, we're going to get you. But it was kind of, I didn't really know where I was going.
Do you have
Okay.
like a preference when that's going on? Do you have going into the draft? Obviously, you want to get drafted and start your professional career. But do you have a preference of, hey, I really prefer to go to this team, or is it just I'll go wherever and get to work?
That was kind of the big thing that I tried to make a point in all the interviews that I had with teams, was that I wasn't looking to just be some money saver so you could go sign a 18-year-old prep. Like, I wanted to be kind of valued as a prospect, whether that be an underslot deal or not, given my age. But that was just something I wanted to be a focus on.
Um, all right. So we've had quite a few guys from your draft class on the show so far this offseason. We've had a few of the pitchers. We've had Big Tex. We had Blake Wehunt. We had Zach Fogel. We had Justin Reamer as well. I feel like I'm getting the same thing from every guy in your draft class that has come on, is that how close you guys got. And Blake, I guess, did spill the beans that Dave & Buster's was one of the reasons because of it. But what was your experience like once you got down to the complex and getting to meet these guys for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it was like everybody went in with probably the same mindset of that it's kind of just you're starting over with new guys. So, I mean, the first probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 days of getting to know each other was a little bit just kind of like that in between, where you're just kind of getting to know people. But I feel like we hit it off a lot better than any of us could have anticipated. I mean, we definitely had a lot of downtime come leaving the facility. You get done at the facility around noon and you're at the hotel from then until the next day. So you got a lot of time to spend with them.
You're not a small guy by any means. Like you're 6'3" is what you're listed at. Obviously, like a guy like Fogel is listed, I think, at like 5'10", 5'9". Obviously, he's a little shorter. But what was your impression when you got there and you saw 2 guys that were 6'7"?
Yeah, well, that was the thing, is when I first walked into the facility, I think one of the first people I met was Trenner, and I obviously seeing him, massive individual. And then you turn the corner and you see Blake Wehunt, which is also a massive individual. So it's like, holy cow.
I just said, like, it was kind of funny, I guess, like, because they got drafted like back-to-back rounds, and then I remember the one came through and they're like, oh, like, he's 6'7". Like, I think Trenner was the first one of the 2, and they're like, oh, this guy's 6'7", like 250. He's just like his nickname's Big Tex, and it's like, okay, like that's cool. And then the next guy is also just as big. So and then the Red Sox just traded for another guy from the 2023 class from the Yankees that's also 6'7", Nick Judas. So there's quite a few of you guys that are going to be down in the same level next year that are just enormous pitchers. So I feel like that's not a very common thing every year.
Yeah.
So what was it? He spilled the beans that it was Kyle Teal that kind of started the whole Dave & Buster's thing, and I think Trenner had even told us there was like a big group that were you one of the Panda Express guys?
No, that wasn't me, but I do know what you're talking about.
Okay. Did that kind of stuff help though? Like going to the Dave & Buster's and doing and going golfing with some of the guys. Like if you were part of that, do you think that aided to just how close they got?
Yeah, I think that definitely helped with the bond of just getting to know everybody. And then once you got that, I mean, you're spending, like I said earlier, you're spending all the time with them. And I just think going to Dave & Buster's, golfing, I think it just kind of made our connection even better.
So you only got into one game down in the complex league, which I'm sure you're at least happy to get the first one out of the way. But what was it like? I guess it's obviously very, very small sample size, but Could you kind of explain, I guess, what it was like to finally face some different hitters and just finally, like, throw a meaningful inning at least?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because that was the thing, is that we drafted a lot of starters, so like a lot of them they took time off after their season, obviously after going 100 innings, but um, like I didn't really need that, like that huge on ramp, so I was kind of ready to go out the gate, and yeah, I was eager to get in, and we had like a one game. I think it was me, Blake, and Feeney. I think were the three guys that were able to get in that first game, and that's when I think we all got our first inning, and it was definitely good experience to get going.
So you at Western, I'm seeing at Western Kentucky, you were not used as a starter at all in the past season. So is that did you start previous to that? Like, I haven't gotten a chance to look at the South Carolina numbers or anything like that. But when did the transition happen for you? If I'm sure you started at some point, probably in high school, I'm assuming. But when did that transition to the bullpen full time take place? And I guess, was it difficult for you to make that transition?
Yeah, so like you said, high school I started most of the time, and then my first year of college at Wabash, I was actually the closer my freshman year, and that was kind of like the first transition I got into it. But like I really don't remember any hiccups with it, really. I think I just kind of took the role and went with it. And then that following year I started, that was the COVID year. Started, so I got 2 or 3 starts under my belt before the season got canned. And so never really had a true chance to start. And then once I got to Carolina, I think I mixed in like maybe 1 or 2 spot starts, but nothing long after that. So I pretty much that second year, and then going to Western, I was always in the bullpen.
So you're telling me that you enjoy closing games and like being in the late inning drama.
Oh, I love it. Can't beat it.
Okay. So you got we joked about this a little bit, but me and Chris were with the team in Worcester. We were covering the Woo Sox this past year, and AJ Politi was closing games, and Chase Shugart at the beginning of the season, and a few other guys. And it's like we kind of joked. It's like, you guys are psychopaths, but in a good way, obviously. Like, you guys are a little crazy, where it's like games on the line, like you're coming in with the bases loaded with like you get 2 outs and you're only up a run in like the 8th inning, and it's like you got to come in and finish this off, and a little crazy. So like, is that something that going into the Red Sox system that you would love the opportunity to be a closer once you get into like affiliate ball?
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything about that role. I think there's definitely a certain amount of, or a certain intangible that you have to have in order to be a great closer. And I think I kind of at least I try to envelop those as best I can.
So leads me into my next question here. So obviously you've only appeared in the one game in the FCL. So fans might not be as familiar with you compared to obviously like a Kyle Teal, just because he's already got to Portland. And so if you had to describe like what kind of pitcher you are and what I guess is how you're built, like what would you describe to Red Sox fans?
I'd probably say just more so along the lines of a power pitcher. Like when I was it sucks because I didn't really get a chance to show it when I was in FCL. Whatever reason, my velo wasn't where it was during college. But yeah, I'll get up to 97, 98 with a power fastball, and even my off speed will run, I don't know, anywhere from 88, 90. And I just probably my whole arsenal will probably just be considered of like a power pitcher.
Did I see as well that that your delivery, you throw from a low 3/4 arm slot? Did you drop that? Is it dropped?
I wouldn't consider it a lower arm slot. I definitely have a lower release height just based on like a general, just because my stride's a little bit longer and I tend to get a little bit more in my legs. I just think it's a lower release height.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it noted on the page. I don't know if you've had the chance to check out Sox Prospects, the website, but you obviously have a page on there, and they were saying that you had a low 3/4 arm slot. So I was interested in that, like I guess like how the lower slot, I guess, came about.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know, my delivery has been pretty unique as I kind of transitioned through college and everything. And it's just something that I stuck with at an early age, and it just kind of progressed throughout my college career.
Okay. Chris, I'm gonna shoot in some one-offs here, and I want to know. First question here is, what was your reaction when you saw the Shohei Ohtani deal?
I mean, that's pretty unbelievable in any aspect of whether it's baseball or not. I think giving anybody $700 million is pretty insane, but I mean, the guy's obviously shown enough to deserve it.
Yeah. What is coming from a player? Like, what is your thought on the deferral, like part of the contract?
That's what I'm curious to see how the union and everybody and the owners are going to go about that, because that seems like it should be, I don't know. I don't know how they go about doing that, but I guess you got to pay the guys what they make, and if that's the way you got to go about doing it, then that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, it was. We were talking about it. We have on another podcast that we do, and we had someone on from John Boy, and it was kind of bringing up, what's the stop? I mean, it's with everything with there's right now. It's being done is within the rules. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of outcry and complaining from fans because their team's not doing what the Dodgers are doing. They're getting Ohtani. They're in on Yamamoto. They just made the trade to get Glasnow, but it's interesting to where a free agent this next offseason could get together with 2 or 3 other guys and say, hey, like we can do something similar to this and maybe do like kind of like basketball super teams. Do you think that's something though that's sustainable for the sport? Do you think that's something that teams and players might consider doing until the league looks at maybe altering the rules?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to spark a lot more opportunity for other guys just being able to do that. But I'm really curious to see how the union and the next CBA and how they're going to handle this. So
It'll be interesting because too, you have to think about, you know, you don't really know ultimately how it's going to even shake out for the Dodgers too, because no team has ever deferred any sort of money to that caliber. There's teams like the Red Sox have deferred Manny Ramirez's money. Dustin Pedroia's got some cash that's deferred, but we're not talking 68 million. We're talking less than 5. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
small money. But it is, I joked on Twitter earlier, but it'd be kind of funny. It'd be like, imagine if baseball could do almost like a Hard Knock style show where you could, have them fall around the Dodgers off season and just how you could do a whole season on just the Shohei piece, but just to give fans that insight of kind of like how all that shook down. To me, it would be massively intriguing.
yeah, I agree. I think that would be really interesting.
I'm gonna my next topic here. You got engaged this
I
past
did.
year, so congrats, by the way.
I appreciate it.
I am currently I got engaged as well in 2023, so I am going through the wedding planning process as we
Oh,
speak, which I'm sure you are
yep,
pretty
absolutely.
pretty deep in it right now. So I want to know what is, I'm not going to say the worst part of it, but what have you found to be like the most stressful part of wedding planning?
Um, I haven't really taken too much of the burden, as probably as much as I should. I'm kind of letting the old girl do most of it, just because I mean, she wants it. There's a lot of minute details I think that she wants and that we're gonna get done, but it's just there's a lot more than I could have even anticipated.
Yeah, she my fiance gave me one job and she was like, I have to do the rest just because that's just how she is. So I was only responsible for the DJ. That was it. She's like, you just need to find a DJ and he's got to be good. And I'm like, that's stressful as all get out. So it's something, man. It's we're still 10 months away and I'm already like, man, like something could go wrong. I don't know.
Do you have a do not
Um,
play song? Did she give you like a list of songs that is a do not play?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that that's where I'm getting at too, but I'm not too sure what the genre is gonna be.
There was she specifically already put on the do not playlist. She doesn't like the line dances. Like she doesn't like that. So she's like, no like wobble or any of that stuff. She's like, not for us. So I respect it though. I'm not a big line dance guy at my wedding. So there's a time and place though. All right, so I have an important question for you, CJ. This is I got trolled on the last episode when I asked this question. but you have lived in an SEC town, so I'm assuming, and you lived in Kentucky, so I think I'm gonna get a good answer out of this, or the right answer. Let's find out. All right, you want a meal. You want a fast food fried chicken sandwich, strips, whatever. Every single option is on the table. Where are you going?
Probably get me a caniac combo.
Okay.
With the sweet tea.
Okay. Fair. Canes is fair. Can I interest you? Can I interest you in Zaxby's?
No, you can't. I'm not sold on it. I've had Zaxby's. I've given it its fair try, but I'm just not sold on it. I don't think it could beat Cane's. I don't even know if it's better than Chick-fil-A, honestly.
How many Zaxby's were in Columbia, South Carolina? Probably quite a few.
In Columbia, probably 5 or 6, I would say.
And you're telling me you never went?
I mean, obviously, I would go a few times, but like, it definitely would not be my first choice when it comes to chicken.
Okay. Everybody has their place, man. I'm telling you. And I'll say this every episode. We've had you're 40, guest number 46. And every single person has been asked this question. I've gotten Zaxby's 2 times. So yes, batting average is low, but the Canes, the Chick-fil-A, Canes, and then we got like Zaxby's, Donnie's Steakhouse, aka McDonald's, and we've had a few others. But man, all right, I had some hope. I was like, all right, he lived in Columbia, South Carolina. Like they probably have some near WKU as well.
Yeah.
No, you're not. It's not really going well for the potential.
The sponsorship is what I'm aiming for.
Only 2 guys. For me, now every time, like, so there's another host too, Ed Hand, and whenever you guys record and I'm on the episodes, I'm actually kind of like rooting against it because I just like looking at Andrew's face of just the sheer disappointment of when he finds out that Zaxby's is not. Cane's is taking over though. I think Cane's is really becoming that between that and Chick-fil-A of the responses. It's back-to-back Canes because didn't Johnny Schreiber say the same thing?
He did. He also said a place called PDQ that's down in Fort Myers. That's very close to the complex. So if you know of that one, CJ, but John Schreiber said you'll be getting a lot of PDQ when he's down at spring training. So apparently that place is fantastic. I'm definitely gonna have to try that when I get down there. Okay, next question here regarding your draft classmates. We've talked to a few of especially the pitchers, man. The pitchers are some of those guys in your draft class are they're very outgoing. They're very, I feel like, especially Zach Fogel is a big jokester, but just in your draft class, who would you say is the guy that anytime you saw him, or he would always either make you laugh or like something funny was going on and it was always around like which teammate?
Probably Big Tex. He was definitely, especially just because like coming from him, like you expect like this big, huge 6'7" with a full beard, and he just comes off like he's a complete teddy bear, and he's always cracking jokes, and he's always getting you going.
And your class had guys that ranged from 18-year-olds. Obviously, you had the pair of high school shortstops with Anderson and Zanatello. But then you also have the opposite end where, you were the 5th-year senior. Then you had some college pitchers, Trenner and Blake and a bunch of other guys. Did you even notice like the big age gap? Like once you got there of being like, okay, some of these guys are a lot younger. You're on the older side compared to the rest of them. Like how was the age difference between the class?
It was a little shaky at first. You could definitely tell with the younger guys like Zanatello and Anderson, but like you got to think like they're coming from high school baseball, coming straight into a big league or major league clubhouse up there. So it's definitely I couldn't even imagine the culture shock they had to go through to even start that transition. But I mean, they came around great towards the end.
It was one of those things we had Nizan on the podcast early in the offseason, and it was one of those things where it's like it's hard to just think about that he's 18, like going through this. And I remember when I was 18, freshman in college, like, and how I acted and how, like, just the world you live in when you're 18. And it's like, this guy is already a professional baseball player. And he's literally like 3 months out of, like, at the time, he was only 3 months out of high school.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, man, because I remember when I was that age, it's like there's no way in heck I could have been what he's doing. So, are you a golf guy at all?
So actually, We Hunt and Feeney took me golfing for the first time in my life when we were down in Fort Myers,
How did that
and
go?
it went just about as you'd expect. Yeah, it was not fun for me. I enjoyed watching them. I couldn't get off the tee box, couldn't really putt, so I mean, it's not really for me, but it's definitely something I'll try. It's just, especially with the courses down there that they're taking me to, like these are not easy courses, not ones that I have any business being on. And yeah, it's not fun when you're just starting out, I guess. That's what they kept telling me. But it's definitely something I mean, I enjoyed being out there, so I mean, it's definitely something I'll try again.
Okay. I might have a Red Sox pitcher that Nathan Landry. I might send him your way to go golfing with because apparently he is terrible. So he needs a guy to pair with because he's been getting made fun of because he shanks it right and left every time he's off the tee box. So might be sending him your way. Be like, hey, this guy named CJ is he's in the last draft class. Like, come on, go golfing with him because Nathan's a Canadian and he can't golf in the off season because it's
Oh.
snowing up there. Yeah, I feel like every single guy in the system is a golfer. It's not like I feel like almost I would say probably like 95% of baseball players these days like have golfed in some capacity. It's kind of crazy to think about. But.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's becoming commonplace with off-season guys now.
Yeah. So you're back. You grew up in a town that I'm familiar with. You were right outside Joliet.
Yep.
And the high school I actually attended in Southern Illinois, well, St. Louis area, just got slaughtered by Joliet Catholic. And I know you didn't go there, but we got destroyed by Joliet Catholic in the IHSA playoffs in football just a month or I guess a couple months ago. Did you guys ever end up did you play all those big Chicago schools?
No, so when I was in high school and we played football and everything, we'd play baseball, like a few like round robin tournaments with the Catholic League, but like football, we never got around them. But I mean, you could tell it's definitely I think people a lot of times undervalue the talent that the Chicagoland area and even just around the Midwest has. And I mean, those Catholic schools are no joke.
I think my school lost by 50. I think in the second round, like it wasn't close, but any time that the playoffs came around and we were playing a school up by Chicago, we're like, yep, it's over. That's how Southern Illinois is. They're just like, we're just kind of here to have fun, and then once we play the Chicago teams, it's pretty much over. But which side did you grow up on, the White Sox or Cubs fandom?
So I grew up a Cubs fan, but that was strictly because my dad was a White Sox fan. So I kind of just grew up like rooting for the Cubs in spite of the Sox. But as I grew older and I started watching both teams, I probably consider myself more of just a Chicago fan in general now.
Okay, so were you on when the White Sox won? Were you still against them? Well, you were.
I
You
was
were
gonna say
actually.
I
Holy
was
cow!
5 years old.
All right, never mind. How about when the Cubs won?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's see the Cubs. It's a little close.
Yeah, the Cubs was definitely that was when I was probably in my prime of being a Cubs fan, was when they were that 2015 year when they were real hot, and then 2016 when they got it together. It was definitely a lot of fun to watch.
Sorry about that. I'm not. I'm still on the right side of 30. I promise. And felt like a boomer for a second. I'm like, yeah, you remember back in the day, like you were 5 walking around, like probably didn't care. So, all right, Chris. I'm gonna start emptying the bench here. I got a couple more left. What do you have for me?
No, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the city of Chicago. I've gone back-to-back years when the Red Sox been out there, just to kind of experience it as a fan. Got to do the Wrigley rooftop for the first time out in left field, which I thought was like really cool experience, like just like the view and everything else. But he really has like a Fenway vibe to it, just because like the old charm of like a ballpark. Have you gotten a chance to visit Fenway and experience just to kind of see the ballpark or anything like that since being drafted?
No, I haven't had a chance. I've actually never been up there towards the Northeast really at all. Yeah, it was definitely. I was kind of hoping that I would get a call for like a workout invitation. I was gonna get the opportunity to go up there, but I never got the chance, but yeah, I would love to go up there and see it.
Yeah, no, it's super similar to Wrigley. I think Wrigley's like the off the field stuff, the bars and things along those lines. Outside of it, just it blows Fenway and Boston out of the water. There's just so many places, so many things to do, but there's just a unique charm to that Fenway area, and it'll change in the next couple of years when they're done with all that construction they're trying to do to revamp it. I guess to kind of like empty the bench. Do you do anything special or with the holidays? Christmas is coming up with your family.
Nothing special. I mean, I don't really have a big family as it is. I kind of just, I'll be with my fiance's family. She's got a good family, a big family, so I'll probably just be spending it with them.
And my last, well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, I'm gonna keep that for last actually. So you can keep going.
All right. I guess my last one, just a little more like, you guys were talking about golf a couple minutes ago. What do you like to do when, you're not, worrying about baseball, you're not training, you kind of kicking back, unwinding? What's your vibe and, I guess, speed?
I used to be a big fisherman a little bit ago. I kind of lost it a little bit, but I mean, I still love all the outdoor stuff. That's what my roommate was Feeney, and he's a North Dakota guy. So, I mean, we kind of hit it off there. Yeah, the Red Sox kind of have like this meal plan thing for the off season where they basically just send you food, and I've kind of gotten into cooking a little bit, so I've kind of enjoyed that.
So I took a peep at your player page, the old WKU website here. I saw on there something interesting. Your favorite athlete is Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
So I watched that Nolan Ryan documentary that came out. I think it was 2023. Came out this year, I think. It was absolutely fantastic. That's a guy that doesn't get enough love from, like, I guess the newer generations, just because we never got to see him pitch. But what about Nolan Ryan? Obviously, other than being absolutely one of the best pitchers of all time, but what about him, and when did that start for you, like for him to become your favorite athlete?
Yeah, I think my dad kind of got me on him when I was younger, maybe even like 10 or 11 when I really started focusing on pitching. And it was just kind of like something that my dad would show me videos, and it would just be like something that I would try and not exactly like model his exactly mechanics, but it was just like the way he would go about pitching and the way that his fastball blew up out of his hand. And there's just a lot of stuff that I loved watching about it. And it's definitely something that I keep with me and I have kept with me throughout probably my whole baseball career.
That is one guy that there's probably a longer list, but he's towards the top of the list of guys that I wish I could have like watched play while I like am old enough to appreciate it. Like, where it's like if he was pitching like in 2023, it's like I could actually watch and appreciate it like in his prime. Like, that is one guy I wish I could see like in his prime. I saw another interesting thing on your page. You were majoring in sports psychology. What goes into that? And I am pretty curious on that.
Yeah, so it's when I first originally went to college, I had every aspiration of going into like the athletic training side of things, where like just like physiology and anatomy, like that was kind of like my thing. And once I transferred from Wabash to Carolina, none of my credits transfer. I don't know if that's a thing, but I basically had to restart my undergrad. And they gave me the choice of psychology or sociology. And so I chose psych, and I started to gravitate more towards like cognitive and experimental psychology originally. But then I decided to go along the lines of like sports psychology and sports psychiatry. So that was kind of something that drew me in. And I'm a big fan of the mental game when it comes to baseball. So it's just something that piqued my interest.
Is that so? Speaking of the mental side of things, we've talked about this, especially with the guy like when I brought up earlier when we talked to Zanze Antello. It's like this is his first time away from home, and he's 18, he's young, and it's like, he misses his family, and it's definitely something that can mess with your mental side while you're there at the complex, farthest away you've ever been away from home, and things like that. And what do you see, I guess, as you enter into affiliate ball next year, and whether you start in Salem, Greenville, whatever it is, like what kind of challenges do you think you're going to have to overcome as you start off your professional career?
Just I think having like, especially for guys like the younger guys like Zanatello and all them, like I think one of the biggest things is having like a really good support system, whether that be family or even teammates. Like I just think that's important in general. Um, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of different adaptations that have to come. I mean, it's a long season, so obviously you got to prepare your body as best you can for that. And there's going to be ups and downs and highs and lows. So I think just doing whatever you can to prepare yourself for that 7th, 8 month season is what you got to do.
And so one of my last questions for you before we let you go, because I feel like you've given us plenty of time, so we appreciate that. But what are like just like maybe like the top 2 things that you're looking forward to the most as you for the year of 2024 in terms of baseball?
Honestly, just getting ready to experience like that full season because obviously no college season, no high school season goes that long or even remotely close to that long. So I'm just excited to see like what different adaptations I can make throughout the season and make myself a different player.
And so what is on the docket for the rest of the offseason?
I'm getting ready to start bullpens here in the next couple weeks and just keep training going. The Red Sox got us on a really good program, so I'm just going through that and I'm excited to get back.
I asked this question to Schreiber when we had him on, and I was like, when do you get that itch back? And he's already got it. I'm like, is that something that you get through the holidays and stuff, and it's maybe like January 10th, and you're like, okay, I'm ready, but he's already got it. So you guys, your pitchers are crazy. I know obviously like your report date is probably less than a month and a half?
Yeah, I think they got us back at like the end of January.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's sneaking up on us. So, but CJ, we appreciate the time. Definitely, it's good to get to know some of the newer guys in the system, and I feel like you and the rest of your draft class I feel like fantastic dudes. So, thank you for hopping on. We'll probably be seeing you down in the complex so once spring training rolls around. So we appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate having me on.